What if the part of you thought was gone wasn't really gone at all? Just resting, waiting for you to remember it. Picture this. A man, maybe like you, stands in the bathroom mirror early in the morning. His shoulders are a little more slumped than they used to be. His eyes, sharp once, now carry a tiredness that doesn't quite leave, even after sleep. There's a quiet ache, not just in the knees or the lower back, but in the parts of himself he used to rely on for confidence, for intimacy, for feeling truly alive. Not just physically, but as a man. If this resonates with you, you're not alone. Not even close. I've spoken with hundreds of men over 55 who've whispered the same worry to me in different words. Doc, I don't feel like myself anymore. And what they really mean is, they don't feel like a man. Not the way they used to. The drive, the spark, the vitality. It feels like it faded quietly, without warning, until one day they woke up and couldn't remember when it disappeared. And worse, they started to wonder if it would ever come back. I want to talk to you today not about a miracle, not about a gimmick or a flashy cure. I want to talk to you about something quiet, something ancient, something that neuroscience now confirms can help reawaken the parts of you that may have been sleeping, not broken, not gone, just starved of what they need to function again. Let me tell you about a man named Robert, 67 years old, retired carpenter, spent decades building homes with his bare hands, strong hands. He came to see me not because of pain or disease, but because, in his words, I feel like a ghost in my own life. His wife was kind, supportive, but they hadn't been close in that way for years. He wasn't depressed exactly, but something was missing. The light was out. At first, he brushed off everything I said about lifestyle. Like many men I meet, he thought nutrition was just a side dish to real medical care. But something about the way he said goodbye that day made me think he wasn't entirely closed. There was still a flicker in his eyes. A few weeks later, he came back, not because of a new prescription, but because of a change he made after our talk. A small one, something he added to his breakfast every morning. I'll tell you what it was in a moment, but first, I want you to understand something crucial. Your manhood, your energy, your desire, your performance isn't just about testosterone or blood flow. It doesn't live only in your hormones or in one part of your body. It lives in your brain. That's where it starts. Before you ever feel the urge, before your heart starts beating faster, before your body responds, your brain sends the signal. Specifically, a region deep in the brain called the hypothalamus, which controls arousal, hormone balance, and even the spark of emotional connection. And as we age, that signal can start to flicker. Not because you failed, not because you've done something wrong, but because time, stress, inflammation, and poor nutrition slowly wear down the pathways that carry it. It's like trying to turn on a lamp with frayed wiring. The bulb still works, the current is still there, but the connection has grown weak. Science now understands this better than ever. We know that neurotransmitters like dopamine play a central role in male desire, drive, and vitality. Dopamine is what gives you motivation, not just in the bedroom, but in life. And many men over 55 are unknowingly dopamine deficient, not from disease, but from depletion. Years of stress, processed foods, poor sleep, and emotional strain take their toll. The mind becomes quieter, not in peace, but in flatness. So the real question is, how do we restore that signal? How do we nourish the brain so it can send the messages the body still longs to receive? That's where the story comes back to Robert. Because what he added to his breakfast every morning was not a pill, not a powder, but a handful of walnuts. I know, it sounds almost too simple. But let me explain. Walnuts have been part of the human diet for thousands of years. They were sacred in many ancient cultures, not just as food, but as medicine. And now, modern neuroscience has caught up. Walnuts are packed with compounds your brain and body crave. Omega-3 fatty acids, particularly alpha-linolenic acid, which is essential for maintaining the integrity of brain cell membranes. They're rich in polyphenols, which reduce inflammation and oxidative stress, two of the biggest threats to cognitive function and blood flow alike. But most importantly for our conversation today, walnuts contain a compound called L-arginine. It's an amino acid that boosts your body's production of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide, in turn, is a molecule that helps blood vessels relax and expand, allowing for better circulation throughout the body, including where it matters most for male function. Think of it as oiling the gears of a machine that still works but has grown stiff. And here's where it gets truly fascinating. Several studies over the past decade have shown that when older adults consume walnuts regularly, not only do their memory and cognitive scores improve, but so do their markers for emotional health and libido. This isn't hearsay. This is measured, observable brain function, improving with something as humble as a nut you've walked past in the grocery store 100 times. When Robert started eating his walnuts every morning, just a small handful, nothing fancy, he didn't expect much. But within weeks, he noticed subtle shifts. He was waking up before the alarm. His mood was lighter. He found himself reaching out to his wife more, touching her hand at breakfast, looking at her differently. It wasn't about performance yet, it was about presence, being there, wanting to be there. And then, a few weeks after that, things began to change in a way he hadn't anticipated. Not dramatically, but steadily. He told me one day, with a kind of half smile, that he had started to feel more like myself again. He stood straighter, his voice had more warmth, his eyes had that flicker of mischief he'd long missed. The walnuts weren't the whole story, of course, but they were the spark, the beginning, the daily signal to his brain and body that he was still worth nourishing. I share all this not to oversell something, but to remind you of what the body and brain are capable of when we give them what they need. The beauty of something like walnuts is not just their nutrients, it's their accessibility. There's no need for a prescription, no need to wait. You can start tomorrow, you can start today, but let's be specific, because details matter. A small handful is all it takes, 7 to 9 walnuts, best taken in the morning when your body is most receptive to nutrients. I often suggest pairing them with a piece of fruit rich in vitamin C, like an orange or some berries. This helps enhance nitric oxide production. A glass of water, maybe some green tea, and your body begins the day with real fuel. Now, I want to be clear, eating one walnut won't change your life overnight. But eating a handful a day, every day, can begin to rewire the signals. And more importantly, it sends a message to your body, yes, but also to yourself. A message that you still matter, that your story isn't finished, that there is still energy, still strength, still warmth and connection and manhood to be claimed. Not through force, but through nourishment. We're only halfway through this story. There's more I want to share with you about how to use this small habit as a foundation for bigger change, about the emotional renewal that often follows the physical one, and about why so many men don't need new solutions but ancient ones remembered. But for now, let this be your beginning, a beginning grounded not in hype but in hope, a hope fed by something as simple as a walnut and as profound as your decision to take care of yourself again. That handful of walnuts, it's small, humble, easy to overlook, but it's also symbolic because it represents something many men haven't done for a long time. Give themselves permission to nourish, not just survive. In a world that often teaches men to push through, to endure, to keep going until the wheels fall off, the idea of slowing down, of caring for yourself intentionally, can feel foreign, even indulgent. But I've come to believe, after years of listening to men like you, that it's one of the bravest things you can do. And it doesn't take grand gestures, it takes consistency, a steady, respectful rhythm, a daily ritual that reminds your body, I haven't forgotten you. Over time, these small rituals begin to reshape not only your biology, but your mindset. Food becomes more than fuel. It becomes a message, a signal of worth, a form of self-respect. That's why something as modest as walnuts has such an outsized effect, because it asks very little, yet delivers a great deal, especially for men whose systems are tired of being deprived. Now let me take you a step deeper. You see, when you start to nourish your brain, especially the centers responsible for desire and drive, something interesting happens. You begin to feel again, not just physically, but emotionally. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter we talked about earlier, isn't just about libido. It governs anticipation, motivation, satisfaction. When your dopamine levels rise naturally, you don't just want more intimacy, you want more life. You start initiating again, calling up old friends, taking walks, fixing that squeaky hinge you've ignored for months. It's subtle, but unmistakable. Many of the men I work with describe it like a fog lifting. One day, they catch themselves humming at the sink, or they reach for their partner's hand without even thinking. These aren't dramatic changes, they're human ones. And they're powerful because they come from inside, not from pressure, not from pills, from alignment. Of course, walnuts aren't the only food that can support this revival, but I focus on them because they are deeply compatible with the older male metabolism. They digest slowly, helping regulate blood sugar. They reduce inflammation, which is often at the root of stiffness and fatigue, and they help repair blood vessels, not just the large arteries, but the fine, delicate capillaries responsible for sensation and pleasure. Think of it like restoring water flow to a garden that's been dry for too long. At first, the leaves might stay wilted, but slowly, as the moisture returns, color comes back, life stirs again. I want to offer you something practical, something you can take from this video and use tomorrow, without complication. Begin with that handful in the morning. 7 to 9 whole walnuts. Not roasted, not salted, just raw and fresh. Chew slowly. Let the texture ground you. If you have trouble with teeth or digestion, soak them overnight in a bit of water. That softens them and begins the release of nutrients. Add a few berries if you can. Blueberries, raspberries, even a slice of kiwi. These fruits are rich in vitamin C and antioxidants, which support nitric oxide function and vascular repair. Together, this combination gently awakens the pathways between your brain, your blood, and your sense of self. Some men also benefit from having a second serving in the evening. Just 3 or 4 soaked walnuts with a calming tea like chamomile or lemon balm. This can support your nervous system during the hours when repair and hormone synthesis occur. You don't have to do both. Even one small moment of intention per day can create momentum. That's the key. Not overwhelming yourself with change, but layering it, letting each positive shift lead naturally to the next. Now, I want to speak to something deeper, because when we talk about male vitality, we're not just talking about circulation or hormones. We're talking about identity, the loss that so many men feel in their 60s, 70s, even 50s. It's not just physical, it's existential. The sense that your usefulness is fading, that your role is shrinking, that your body is no longer a source of pride, but a source of frustration or shame. These are wounds, real ones, and they're rarely spoken aloud. But I see them, I hear them, and I want you to know this: you are not broken. You are not past your prime. You are still capable of strength, of closeness, of waking up in the morning and feeling eager again. But for that to happen, you must start treating yourself not as a problem to be solved, but as a system to be supported. The difference is everything. When you feed yourself with real, restorative foods, not synthetic shortcuts, you begin to repair the subtle connections between your body and your mind. And those connections? They're the foundation of vitality. They're the reason a man like Robert went from withdrawn and numb to reaching for his wife's hand again at breakfast. They're the reason he now walks his neighborhood with a little more spring in his step, not because he's chasing youth, but because he's honoring life. If you've been waiting for a big sign, this is not it. This is something better, a small invitation, one that asks only for your curiosity and your consistency. Try the walnut habit for 30 days. Just that. Not to prove anything, not to chase a result, but to witness what happens when your body begins to receive what it has long been denied. And as that happens, listen. Pay attention not just to what changes in the bedroom, but what changes in the quiet places. Your mood, your breath, your eagerness to engage with the day. Some of you may be skeptical. That's healthy. You've seen too many promises, too many flashy claims that lead nowhere. But this isn't a promise. It's an offering, a piece of wisdom passed from old ways to new science, wrapped in compassion and rooted in care. And it's yours, if you want it. I'll leave you with this. Your manhood is not a switch that turns off with age. It is a fire that dims when unfed, and every day, you have the choice to add kindling, to stir the embers, to believe that even now, even after all this time, there is more waiting for you, not through desperation, through devotion. So tomorrow morning, take that handful of walnuts and make it your ritual. Sit for a moment as you eat them. Don't rush. Let it be quiet. Let it be yours. And know that with every bite, you are telling your body, I'm still here. I still care. And I'm not done yet. If this message speaks to you, I invite you to stay with us. This space, this channel, is for men like you, men who are tired of noise and ready for truth. We don't offer hacks. We offer help. We offer stories, science, and steady guidance so you can feel seen, supported, and strong again. Until next time, I'm Dr. Camila Cruz. Take care of yourself. You're worth the effort.